Prepare yourself for an entertaining and somewhat informative hour of MMA Talk Radio.
My mission here is to motivate.
Out of the red corner, Joe Show. Out of the blue corner, Timbo Slice. And your host, Fight Fit Lifestyle founder and UFC fighter, Stephen Ocho Peterson.
Well, happy Friday, happy Valentine's Day, Echo.
What?
You got an echo?
I do have an echo. Sounds great.
Sounds great, great.
Great.
Prepare yourself. There it goes. There we go. Well, happy Valentine's Day, happy Friday, February the 14th.
It's a great day, man. It's beautiful out.
It is beautiful. It was
Cold this morning, but it's nice now.
Yeah, my son got up this morning at 9 o'clock. I don't know why. He was out of school and was like, Dad, I want to go up to Walgreens. I guess he wanted to get some Valentine's Day stuff for his mom. I was like, son, it's 27 degrees. Walgreens is 5 miles away. He wanted to ride his bicycle up there. I was like, no.
But that's what puts hair in his chest, man.
Yeah, he don't need no more hair in his chest. He's got that Dirty Sanchez mustache growing in. He's 14.
Wow.
Yeah. We had a track event yesterday. It was freezing cold. It was like 30-something degrees. We're out there standing. He's running his relay races. But, yes, cold. But today is a lot nicer. This weekend's supposed to be in the lower 70s. So maybe we'll get some patio time and some cold beers.
Patio and cold beers and take the bike out, huh?
Take the motorcycle out. So our fearless leader, Steven.
He says he's going to show up sometime. He thinks he's going to. I haven't heard anything from him, but I kind of doubt it. He's in the process. I don't know when it started. He's having surgery this morning on his elbow.
Yeah, surgery on his elbow. Just
so
built.
For those of you who don't know, yeah, he's having surgery. He's out of his fight the end of this month.
Yeah, he did post that on social media, so I guess we can talk about it now. But, yeah, hurt his elbow, and it's locking up on him, so I guess he was having some stuff shaved down in there.
Is it bone spurs or something?
Yeah, it could be. Elbowing people in the head. That's what I think it's from. So getting all that stuff fixed, and he'll be, short recovery. It's not a really invasive surgery. I think they just go in and clean it up a little bit, and he'll be back in action pretty quickly, I'm sure. So quick recovery.
Yes, knowing him, he'll be
sparring tomorrow.
Maybe not sparring, maybe not rolling or anything, but he'll be doing something. He'll be out there on running, be on the bike doing something. That's his life. That's his fight fit lifestyle, baby.
He is a warrior. Yep. So
is this our Super Bowl follow-up show?
Is this the Super Bowl? Yeah, because we were out of town. Everybody was out of town last week. So last week, did you go?
No, I did not go.
You didn't go to Houston. So Steven went to Houston. He was quartering Austin Lingo and Miles John and a couple of other Fortis guys for the UFC. What number was that? It was a big one. It was a big one because
How about 247?
UFC 247 with the headline main event, Johnny Bones Jones and Reyes. We can start.
Start right at the top, huh? Or you want to
All
start?
right, let's start at the bottom. So working our way up, some Dallas local guys, Fortis MMA, Austin Lingo, put up a good fight.
He did. He showed up well. I mean, I thought he put on a good fight.
He got a call up to the UFC.
Just a couple weeks prior, but he's always in the gym. Everyone at Fortis is always in there banging.
He was always he put up a good fight. The guy was a crafty fighter. Who's the guy he fought? I never heard of the guy before, but he was a crafty fighter who had a lot of footwork, and it seemed like Lingo had to chase him around quite a bit to land his shots. Yeah, and he did good, man. It was his first big show. I mean, he's fought on LFA, but when you get to the UFC, it's a different story. It's a different lights. It's different.
Joseph Zala, and I think he came from LFA as well.
He was another LFA guy.
Yes.
And that guy was crafty, man. He fought with his hands down. He bounced around. He looked kind of Dominic Cruz's-ish. He was a tough, good fighter, and Austin Lingo put up a good fight on, landed some good shots, and
you saw that power right coming a couple different times.
Dude,
okay, man, if that connects, it is lights out.
It is lights out, and I thought it was a good showing by Austin Lingo. Proud of the guy. His stock went up in my book for sure. Put up a good fight. I mean,
most definitely.
He's up there in the big show now, and He'll work on a few things for his next fight. I'm sure they'll put him back. You know, it was a fun, exciting fight.
Yes, it was. I mean, it's not like he went out there and was pushed around the cage or anything. He put a fight on that the fans wanted to see.
You know, he didn't get his ass kicked. You know what I mean?
No, not by any means.
No, he wasn't very. I think he got clipped on the nose early and had a little nosebleed, probably caused him a little problems. But you know, we're all a fan of that guy. He's been on the show a couple of times, and he's just a banger. You know, he'll come out next time. I think he'll use a little bit more weapons. He was a little boxing heavy. You know, he didn't let his feet go too much. And
yeah, I mean, I know he has a big Muay Thai background from studying over in Asia. And you're right, did that come out as much? We'll see. I mean, on his next one, and you always wonder how big and bright are those lights when you walk into that. I mean, there's got to be a big adrenaline rush, and then there's that adrenaline jump that goes with that as you're the nerves going into it. And I haven't talked to him, don't know if that was the case or not, but you always wonder about that with anybody that's stepping in. But he did well. Despite all that, he made us all proud, and he was put on a good show.
And then we had Miles Johns on the card, and it didn't end up. I mean, he came out scrapping. Man, he got caught with a jumping knee. I think you could hear Coach Safe in the background, kind of yelling at him.
And that guy was throwing that knee a lot.
A lot.
I mean, he kept throwing that knee and throwing it. I mean, he threw it a number of times in the first, a couple of times in the second. And then it finally caught him. So he when he went down with that, then he got jumped on. So
Miles didn't look himself. I mean, I've seen Miles fight a lot of times. He's usually a little bit more dynamic and active, and I don't know, he didn't look himself to me. You know, I'm a Miles John. You know, love that dude. You know, met him a handful of times. Great guy. You know.
Yes, very good. Very
got
good
caught with that knee, and might have been a little bit early stoppage. I think went down, took a few shots, and then they called the fight. But
and that's a hard one. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into refereeing and judging and all that. But ooh. I mean, when the referee sees someone take a flying knee to the head, and they drop, and then they take a few more shots,
they're being safe.
Yes, they're protecting that fighter, and that's what their job is when they're in the cage, is to protect the fighter and stop the fight before he gets injured too badly.
Yeah. So not taking anything away from the other guy too. He was definitely dynamic and going for the kill. It was a good show. You know, it was a good fight. But take a loss like that, Miles Johns is going to come back stronger, more dynamic, and learn from his mistakes. And
and both Miles and Austin were undefeated going in. So
it's
hard to see him get that first loss. But everybody learns so much when they're in the cage with every match, and then with a loss, you walk away and like, okay, I'm going to improve. What do I need to do different? Mindset, and it from all the way down to getting in back into the gym and training.
Yep, working on holes in your game. You know, he's a dynamic guy. You know, look forward to seeing more of his fights, and him opening up and being that Miles John, the destroyer that he is.
Yes.
And champion caliber. I still believe, that he will, get up in that top 10 and he'll work his way up. That's what I think.
Yes, I believe he will as well. I mean, he's got the heart, he's got that drive. There's not anybody that you can go through and look at the whole UFC roster of 500, whatever there are, and anyone's undefeated.
No.
Champions take losses.
Champions take losses. I'm still a big fan of Anderson Silva, Chuck Liddell, all those guys coming up. All the old school guys. They got their butt kicked a few times. Cowboy Cerrone, probably one of my favorite fighters of all times. He wins, he loses. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. But man, I'm still a fan. He's taking ass whoopings, and he's still wanting more. Next week he'll come back and kick somebody's ass. So. Man, I was in Las Vegas last weekend. Went down there with my wife to, kind of party a little bit and cut loose. Saw that new. I'm changing the subject, but
that's cool. That's cool.
Saw the new Raiders stadium.
Oh yeah,
Mark, have you seen that stadium? Man, it looks like Tesla built this thing. It looked like a spaceship. It was black, reflected. It almost looked like mirrored black glass. The whole building did with some gray. Wow. It looked like a spaceship, like it was going to literally take off and fly into outer space. It looked like, Elon Musk or somebody designed this thing. It was pretty dope. But
So black and gray, so very
most
Raider-esque.
90% black, shiny black, futuristic. I'm sure it looked like a Cadillac on the inside of that place. It was killer looking. But the reason I bring up Vegas is, man, I couldn't find the fight anywhere.
I was going to ask you where did you watch the fight there?
From my phone, from my cell phone.
So
ESPN
nobody had.
none of the, unless you want to go to a strip club, which, I was with my wife. I wasn't really down going strip club.
So the strip club might have had or did have the fight on there, but it was all on. It wasn't a pay. It was
pay-per-view.
It was pay-per-view. So no one had a. And I know that.
I went down. I checked a lot of casinos, and I think there was a Buffalo Wild Wings on the outskirts of town that was showing it, but it was hard to find. I couldn't find it, so I watched it from my phone. And then,
Well, that kind of sucks. So I went to a couple different places trying to watch the fight. First place I went was completely dead. And I thought, okay, this place needs it's a fairly new pool hall in McKinney. They need some help. They had it on all their TVs, but there was like 12 to 15 people in there. I watched one fight there. I watched Lewis's fight, and then I'm like, I gotta go. I headed over to Shakerton's over in Allen. Place was packed.
Huh.
And I couldn't even find a seat. And then, what do you know? There's somebody that, they say, hey, Timbo, are you sitting by yourself? I'm like, yeah. So it was Jonathan, his girlfriend Marissa, and a guy named Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Marissa, or her boyfriend, girlfriend, and Chloe.
did you know him?
I've met Austin before.
Oh, cool.
But the other ones I've never met. So like, come on over, sit down. Talked about the show, talked about all the fights. So it was good sitting there, having somebody to appreciate them bringing me into their fold. So I had someone to watch with.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was good.
That's
And
super cool.
Exciting place to watch fights.
Give them a little shout out. Now they're famous. Now we made them famous.
Yeah.
Did you sign an autograph for them? Photos?
I did none of the above.
Oh, come on,
Damn it.
Timbo.
No, I had to walk around. If I did one, I'd have to
Yeah,
do
you-
the whole bar.
yeah,
So
that's true.
I didn't want to start.
Damn. So talking about that fight, it got and Steven and what's the judge's name that came on the show? Who's the judge? What's his damn name? Seth?
Yes, Seth.
So Steven's talked about it. Seth's talked about it. Bad judging in Texas with a lot of bad calls. And even Joe Rogan was talking about it on the podcast with Rashad Evans the other night I was watching.
See, and I haven't seen any follow-ups to what Joe's had to say about it.
5 to 7 of those fights he believes were judged wrong. One of the ones that stuck out to me, Andrea KGB Lee got robbed. I watched that fight. She was whooping that girl's ass the whole fight. I thought she won 2 out of the 3 rounds for sure. I'd have to go back and watch it again, but she was piecing that girl up.
That fight, I watched it again this morning.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. Those two ladies, they came out and stood in the center of that cage and they banged. I mean, they were nonstop. I mean, the action was, they were just throwing back and forth. I mean, Andrea was throwing the kicks in there. At the end of that first round, they gave you a punch count, and Lauren Murphy was up on the punch count.
On the punch count. That don't mean she was landing.
But Andrea was missing as well. I mean, she had a takedown in there, so I'm like, that one could have gone either way. I mean, it was
In round 1 or round what?
round one. That was round one. I think all the rounds could have gone either way. I thought they were all very close rounds. And rewatching the thing this morning,
I'm gonna go back and watch it again.
I mean, Murphy took you down with 30, 40 seconds in the to go in the second round as well.
Yeah, with no damage though. Takedown.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. You don't know what the judges were watching, but Joe Rogan had even said on the show, like, man, 5, 6, 7 of those fights were judged wrong, and was complaining about how the scores are kept. And he had one of the shows, it might have been Joe Rogan or another show, said, man, they should have a live count on who's winning at the end of each round. Who Andrea won that round, so that would really, show it to the crowd, so the crowd cheers or boos. Show it to the fighters, so they know what they got to do, and I think it'd make it more exciting. I thought that was a pretty good idea as well, live scoring.
I mean, because you do have in between rounds, your corner saying you've lost both those rounds, so you've won that round, you lost this one. So
right.
if they can see it up on a scoreboard, it's like just like any other sport where you have your score presented out there. I think that'd be a good thing. It's also
just
getting
like
down
any
to-
other sport.
Yeah.
They don't hide the score in football. They don't hide the score in boxing. Even in boxing, they show you
Yep.
there's someone doing a live count of each round. They'll tell you, whoever won that round, going down the stretch. So I kind of like that idea.
I think that would be good as well. Will they do that? I'm not really sure. The other thing that we've talked about on here is which at the Contender Series, Dana White sits there and watches on a monitor. I mean, and Mick and Sean Shelby, they're all sitting there watching on the monitor, really not on watching, even though they're cage side, they're not watching truly what's looking up at the cage. We've talked about that on the show, that the judges should have that. There was mention, I've seen no proof that the judges had that they had a video thing.
Joe Rogan was commenting, it was like, those judges aren't even watching the fight. They're talking to each other, looking at the ground, whatever they were doing. I was like, whoa. I mean,
and to me, there's a lot of bullshit in what came out of his mouth there, because you could hear him talking about that more and more as it went. Dominic Cruz goes, well, that's not the judge. That's the commissioner next to him.
but the commissioner was talking to the judge.
And that's what Joe then said next was, well, they're talking to each other. They shouldn't be doing that. And then he said he was looking down. Did he have the monitor he was looking at? I don't know. So I can't. And Andrea's calling out for anyone that has a picture or video of that, which I'd love to see if there is. But not being there, not seeing, not sitting cage side, seeing what they're seeing, don't really know what they really saw with that. And then I read another article where they start calling out what judge was looking down. When I read that article and when I watched the fight again this morning, that judge that they called out for looking down wasn't one of the fucking judges.
Oh, really?
And I didn't know that they switched judges.
Was it one of the guys that we know from the local?
No.
One of the local commissioners?
I
saw a few commissioners that are recognized from the LFA and XKOs.
Yes. I saw the commissioner guys that I've recognized a few as they're walking around, but I never really looked up the judges, but I did look up the scorecards for each, and we're listening to this morning who the judges rambled up. And I didn't know that they switched some of those judges throughout the evening.
It really makes me want to get my judge license. After talking to Seth, and like, I want to get in there and be a part of that.
Yes,
because it's the change is coming, and I want to be on the forefront of that change.
And even with the main event, I looked up one of those judges. I mean, they said boxing experience. He had MMA experience all the way back to 2001. The one judge that I looked up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, he does have. He is a boxing referee as well. He did have a and I forget which judge that was. I know he has a lawsuit against the California State Athletic Commission.
Oh.
Rightfully so, because he was the ref, third man in the ring for a boxing match that was a bloody match.
Mm-hmm.
One of the fighters had HIV.
Oh my God!
And I'm like, how the hell did he get past?
Did he get it that morning before the fight?
Yeah, I mean, even the other fighter, everyone else after that. So I'm like, yeah, he has a lawsuit against the California State Athletic Commission, and he should.
And that fighter's going to have blood tests and live with this shit. And
yeah,
the opponent that did not have AIDS, HIV, is going to have to get blood testing on a regular, and he's going to be fearful for his. I mean, that could screw your life up.
Yes,
nobody's going to want to fight him either.
So even if there's we're talking about these different, you have to do a little research and really start digging to find some of this stuff. If they were a lot more transparent with who these judges are as they're coming in and stating more, this is their background. Because when you start hearing something where someone says, well, they're boxing judges. I know Ocho said the same thing. And we are been more of a boxing state. We don't have as many big MMA fights here. So do they have the credentials? We don't know because they're not posted out there. I mean, you have the stats of every fighter. Should you have a stat of a judge of how long he's been judging MMA? So people know. They're not going to go in saying, well, this guy's a piece of shit because I heard someone else say he's a piece of shit, doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, in boxing, they'll say, this judge is notable for scoring so-and-so versus so-and-so. They're notable for scoring, Pacquiao versus Mayweather. They're notable for scoring. So they'll give you the history of those boxing judges.
So but has boxing always been that way, or have they started to come out more and be more transparent with that?
I mean, I've seen some really bad boxing decisions as well. So you don't know.
And you're right, you don't know, and it happens in every damn sport. And even some of these sports that have instant replays, they still don't get it right.
Yeah, that's true.
it is what it is on the play of field or in the cage. You gotta go out and perform and
But
finish.
especially in a fight, football, basketball, yeah, everybody's watching, everybody kind of knows the rules, and you can see if they score a touchdown or not. But in fighting, man, it's a little different. I mean, those guys are putting their lives on the line. They're taking the shots. Some of those blows could be career-ending. I mean, they need to get that right.
Yes, they do.
Well, prepare yourselves for a commercial break and a message from our sponsors.
3, 2, 1. KVGI.
Ojo Peterson.
3, 2, 1. KVGIRadio.com.
Y'all have really just opened my bubble and just...
KVGI Radio brings you conversation and entertainment. 3, 2, 1. KVGIRadio.com.
Y'all have really just opened my bubble and just...
KVGI Radio brings you conversation and entertainment. Be sure to follow us on social media. Who streams the best talk shows? We do.
They know. Especially if you're the owner of the business. Yeah, you know the rules. It'd be like you playing 97.1. You know, like, oh yeah, you can go for that.
And that's what the difference is. And I'm not making money.
You're listening to KVGIRadio.com. Streaming live from the KVGI studios in Frisco, Texas. Live without limits.
You're not doing your job right.
Still with, I mean, it has to be. It's like 5. camp in particular.
Three, two, one. KVGIRadio.com.
Y'all have really just opened my bubble and just.
KVGI Radio brings you conversation and entertainment. Be sure to follow us on social media. Who streams the best talk shows? We do.
That's fine. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
Joshua's going to come back in his cubic costume.
cubic costume.
Well, it hasn't been discussed yet, but little tutu sitting out there.
I can rock a tutu. It wouldn't be the first time, bro.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Listen, I was at a friend's last night, and they're not really even having kids yet. But at some point, I was like, dude, someday you're gonna be very pretty. He looks at me and goes, "Fuck you," and I go, "No, I meant this in a a man to man, you know." And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I go, "You're getting married very soon, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, you're in love, right?" And he goes, "Okay, well, kids come next." And he goes, "Don't be fucking mention kids." And I was like, "Well, I'm just saying that you're gonna have a little beautiful girl, and she's gonna braid your hair, she's gonna braid your beard,
Yeah.
She's gonna make you wear a tutu, you're gonna have coffee on the table." And he goes, "I'll fuck all that shit." And I go,
Yeah, right.
You say that now.
"That's what happens with a little girl." And he goes, "No, I'm gonna hold the girl like this, and the gun's gonna be in my hand." And I go, "Dude, she's gonna be a couple of weeks old. Yeah, it's gonna be the rest of her life."
Uh-huh.
What
Yeah.
happens when you can't hold her? Money. There's two guns. She's right there now.
Well, that's good, but it sounds like she's going to be daddy's little girl, though. He's going to protect the shit out of
I'm trying to get to that whole point that you're going to overprotect her and everything. So that means whatever she wants, Daddy's going to do. Daddy, would you wear this?
Right there. He's going to be right around her little finger.
So, one thing I'm going to bring up, Holly Holmes, 50 clean USADA tests. 50 straight clean USADA tests for Holly Holmes.
Wow.
All right, let's bring you back.
All right. So we'll finish off. Welcome back. All right.
There we go.
So where were we? Anyway, we're talking about the Texas judging, and Joe Rogan was talking shit and about the judges, and we've heard this about Texas judges. Steven said that he didn't want to fight in Texas till they
improved it, yeah.
till they improve it.
They got to change something for him to fight.
Because
here.
it's ruining fighters' lives. But one fight in particular, Joe Rogan brought up that was a total robbery, and that guy, that guy deserved to win. I can't remember the name of the fighter, but there were so many fights that night.
Was that Jonathan Martinez and Andre?
Could have been.
That was like the second fight of the night?
Could have been. It was a real banger, I heard. I watched. I was in Vegas, so I was kind of watching from my phone and ESPN Plus, and kind of walking the strip and drinking and eating edibles at Planet 13. But back to that card. Shevchenko fought Chikagian. What's her name?
Chikagian.
And just totally dominated and whooped her ass.
She's
a badass.
She
man.
is a badass. It's like, okay, who's gonna come up and even challenge her?
Pound for pound, male or female, best fighter in the UFC. That's what's being said right now, and I believe it. If she was a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, she'd whoop Nunes. She's just so skillful. See that spinning back kick?
Yeah.
Oh my! She slapped the shit out of Chikagian.
Yes, she did.
Wow! God Almighty!
And she just missed with the heel on that. I mean, if she was an inch closer to her, that would have just been a devastating
game
knockout.
of inches. Yeah, she would have put her to sleep. It slapped the shit out of her.
Yeah.
It would have knocked. It would have knocked a normal.
That, yeah.
And good fight by Chikagian, man. She put up a fight. She did her best, but she was just outclassed.
Well, she's in a class by herself, though. That's why.
That's the deal.
She's outclassed, but yeah, she put up a great fight against her. But you can only do so much against somebody that's dominant.
Dude, that spinning kick, she pieced her up real good. Chikagian come out strong and put up a good fight in the first round, I thought, and then after that, it was just. How did that fight end? Was it
ground and pound?
Ground and pound, just beat her up. And
from the crucifix. That's right. She got her in the crucifix, and she was just dropping the elbow. She had her left arm Valentina had her left arm was wrapped up in the legs there, and she was just dropping the right elbows on her. But boom,
had her sprawled out like
Yes.
this. Oh, that's the worst, dude.
and there was nothing Kagan could do. I mean, she just
if
sat
that had
there.
been a street fight, she'd have killed her.
Yeah, if it was
Right.
a street fight, then her head would have been bouncing off the concrete.
Oh man. Oh, and before we get into that last fight, because we have a short show today, Valentine's Day special coming up. Congratulations, Holly Holmes. 50 straight USADA tests passed. That is
Completely clean. Huh?
completely clean. 50 fights. Looking at her, you wouldn't think so, because she is a specimen. She looks like a female fitness bodybuilder.
Yes, she
in
does.
some photos. I mean, she is. And congratulations, man, keeping the sport clean and just a class act. The preacher's daughter. So
That's awesome. I wonder how many. I mean, 50 seems like a lot of tests that she's had to go through. How
Well,
often they're tested, or is it? I guess it's,
I bet they test her all the time.
and it's
from-
because they think she is
because of the
or-
way she looks.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I bet that USADA probably goes back through her boxing career too. Maybe
I guess it could.
it could. I don't know how long USADA's been around. I mean, she was a multiple world champion boxer. I don't know if that includes that record, but
I wonder which that time frame when those 50 tests came in, or how. I mean, how many times has Jones been tested in his years that he's been in? Not. We're not going to talk about clean dirty on his. Just how many times has he been tested?
is this our last segment, Mark? Right here, this 9 minutes. Okay. So, oh, we'll have one more shorty after that. Okay. So, congratulations, Holly Holmes.
That's
Big
awesome.
fans.
For her.
Like to get her on the show one day.
That would be good. We'll work on that.
So, what do you think? What do you think about the main event, Bimbo?
You're skipping over your one of your favorite fighters.
Oh, the Black Balls. No, Black Beast. Big hot.
I'm sure.
Big,
I'm
big
sure
hot,
they are too.
Big hot nuts. Oh, hot nuts, Lewis over there. So, and man, he showed up for his town. You know, this is hometown, Houston, Texas. It was an exciting fight.
Yes, that was. It was good to see him get out there and do well with it. And he's come out after the fight saying he has some health issue that could be life-threatening. Didn't say what it was, but he was still out there and he said UFC's aware of it, doctors were aware of it, but he was still, whatever it is, didn't keep him from fighting. But so it kind of makes you wonder and think, okay, you're hoping for the best for him, whatever that is. You want to get results so he can keep getting in there in the cage and showing us what he's got, because he's an entertaining fighter and he's an entertaining personality.
yeah, his Instagram. If you want to follow a crazy ass Instagram, follow that dude.
Even Rogan said that in the cage after the fight. He said he was one of the best Instagrams in all of MMA.
Well, you know, Derek Lewis looked good. I mean, his physique has changed since he's joined the UFC. He used to be just a big, pudgy looking fighter.
Yep.
You know, he did. He was. I'm sure he had to cut weight to get down to his weight class. So now he's looking more muscular, a lot leaner, and you can tell it in his fights. His gas tank is better, and he's doing dynamic stuff. So he's doing this whole fight. He's throwing these jumping, flying knees, and
He's throwing some kicks that are going up to the guy's head, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, look at that man that's 200, probably 75, if not plus at that point when he's in the cage, and he's getting his foot up to the head, and like he has some."
And we've met Derek Lewis. He is a giant man.
Yes.
And his legs are this big around, and his feet are probably that big.
He is a huge man.
His fists were as big as my head, up close. And
Yep.
he's a cool dude. He's really kind of quiet spoken in person, but he's funny as hell.
Yes, and that when we saw him, that was post fight, but he had won that fight, but he wasn't as exuberant as you would have thought you would have seen him outside of that. It was like, does he turn that off and on, or is he more comfortable with some of that when he's
probably being humble in his hometown.
Yeah.
Because when he came out, the crowd went nuts. I mean, definitely. He was in Houston. It's a Houston crowd. He's a Houston fighter. He's got a lot of love there, and he has won a lot of fight of the night bonuses. And I think he's won 14 fights in the UFC or something in his career. He was up there, one of the records. He had won a lot of fights and then a lot of bonuses.
His overall record is 23-7 now. I don't know
That's a lot of fights.
That's a lot of fights, and I don't know what part of that's.
I've probably seen him fight in person 2 or 3 times. It's always fun.
Yep.
Those heavyweights, they only land 10, 15 shots a fight, but man, when they do, it's thunderous.
You can hear him through the whole arena.
And the guy that fought him, was it Latifi? Pronounce it Latifi?
Yes.
So Latifi put on a good show. You know, he came up in weight from 205. He's a lot shorter, real thick, held his own against Derek Lewis. Took some heavy shots because Lewis was landing some big bombs, especially in the third round when Lewis came flying out of that, out of the corner,
and he came flying out like he had plenty in the gas tank.
Like he had plenty in the gas tank, and came with a jumping knee and was throwing, jab, cross hook, uppercut combos and putting it on him.
It wasn't just a 1-2 punch out there. He was.
I think Latifi definitely belongs in that weight class. He looked good. I mean, he was definitely strong. He took Derek Lewis down a few times with some body locks and picked him up and took him to the ground.
When he picked him up, I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah, holy shit! I couldn't lift that dude's arm.
I was really surprised when he was picked up. I'm like, man, what's he going to do with him? I mean, I guess you get that much weight, you want to drop him on his head as quick as you can, or get him back on the canvas. So that was impressive to see Latifi pick him up.
Yeah, Derek Lewis looked. He was fighting like a light heavyweight, man. He was jumping around, throwing those kicks, and yeah, it was a good time. It was a good fight to watch. I watched that one too. Like I said, some of those fights I had to watch on YouTube because I couldn't get them there in Vegas, which was crazy. I didn't want to jump in an Uber and because they didn't have it any of the casinos. I even went down to the sport betting, where they have the sport betting. Yep. It was just all like college basketball. That was everybody's bet. I was like, come on, not even one. They didn't even have
not even one little TV in the corner. Nothing.
Nothing. They didn't even have it posted up on the board where they have all the games going. They didn't have the UFC up at all. I was like, huh. But we tried.
Well, that's good. I always think it's fun if you're in Vegas to someplace where maybe you can do this here. I don't know, but even betting on some of the fights.
That's what I wanted to do. And I would have lost. I wouldn't have won anything. Of course, I was betting for all the Fortis guys to win.
Yep.
Yeah.
And every time I bet on a fight, you see.
I always bet with the problem is I bet with my heart. Usually, it's who I like.
And I go in and I bet a lot of times when I see these underdogs. I'm like, puncher's chance. Anyone's got a puncher's chance. If they're
especially in heavyweights.
Yeah. Where you can drop 100 and double that if that puncher has that chance and connects on that. I think I placed a good bet on Derek Lewis a while ago, where he came through. He was an underdog, came through and won.
When he fought the big German guy or Swedish guy or whatever was that dude? Russian?
I really wish I could remember that.
When we were at the restaurant, right? And he was losing the whole fight.
Yes. And then I don't know if that was one I bet on, but I know what fight you're talking about. Where, he was losing and came back right at the
and knocked
end of the third.
Oh, man, that was huge. That was on the Conor McGregor and Khabib card. That was on that card. You don't even know where you are right now, do you, Timbo Slice?
I'm like, I'll take your word for that. Yes, it was that. And I saw that fight, I guess, according to what you're telling me, reminding me. So, main event.
Tired. Tell me what you think. And then I'm going to give you my piece.
I think Reyes looked great in the first 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
He was pushing forward. He was going after him. The combinations he was throwing, it kept Jones on his heels, moving backwards the whole time, and Jones couldn't do what he really wanted to in those first 3 because he was backing up all the time. And you're watching and thinking, okay, Reyes is going to win this if he continues with what he's doing, continue with how he's been in the first 3 rounds. I think he's going to win this. I mean, even if you're going to go give him the first 3 rounds, he should have the fight. But to me, in the championship rounds, either his gas tank was empty, or he was going in, he was coasting, thinking, "I've got this." And anytime if you're coasting or whatever it was, and if he had too much confidence, he wasn't doing nearly what he was doing in the first 3 rounds. So he definitely did not win the last 2. So some of them that were close. Who are you pointing at? Yourself?
No, my buddy Cecil. I hadn't talked to Cecil. What's up, Cecil?
So even though with some of those, I thought he looked great in the first 3. Did he win those first 3? It's always up to the judges. I mean, you're looking at that and they're close.
He definitely won those first 3. The third was questionable. He was a better striker than John Jones. His boxing was way better than John Jones.
in his comment, I made John Jones look like an average man, an average fighter.
Those first 3 rounds he did.
Yes, he did.
So, but rounds 4 and 5, like
The
you
true
said,
championship rounds.
the true championship rounds, Joe Rogan said that he thinks those last two rounds 4 and 5 should count more. And this is how he explained it. And maybe I'll get to it after this break because we only got a minute left, and it made a lot of sense to me when Joe Rogan said it. So I'm going to repeat what Joe Rogan and Rashad Evans said, or I'm terrible with quoting. My memory's not that great, but I'm going to explain it.
But better than mine.
Better than yours for sure. But definitely Reyes had the better boxing. I mean, he looked like the better fighter rounds 1, 2, and 3. He did fight going backwards a lot. John Jones was going forward a lot. You don't know what the judges were watching. What are you reading over there?
I'm looking at my notes that I took so I could remember shit.
Oh, okay. I took notes too.
Of what
I can't find them though.
How the judges scored the match.
What's up, Kenny Tran? Joe Tech in the house. It's one of my favorite customers right there. You want to get your hot rod done. All right, stay tuned from our show sponsors. We'll be right back after these messages.
3, 2, 1. KVGIRadio.com.
Y'all have really just opened my bubble and just.
KVGI Radio brings you conversation and entertainment. Be sure to follow us on social media. Who streams the best talk shows? We do.
You're listening to KVGIRadio.com. Streaming live from the KVGI studios in Frisco, Texas. Live without limits.
Out of the red corner, Joe Show. Out of the blue corner, Timbo Slice. And your host, Fight Fit Lifestyle founder and UFC fighter, Stephen.
Watching, man, I got some old high school friends watching. What's up, guys? Got some business partners watching. But anyway, so
What did Rogan have to say that was
okay?
That
So
Joe Show agreed with?
So if you're just tuning in, we were talking about John Bones Jones fighting Dominic Reyes and who you thought won. A lot of people think that Reyes won that fight. Rounds 1, 2, and 3. He outboxed Jones, plain and simple. Landed a lot of leg kicks, outpointed him, 100% for sure. Joe Rogan said, well, I believe the last 2 rounds, John Jones dominated, and the championship rounds should count more. And then he says, you ever seen a fight in high school? You ever seen a high school fight? Mark, you ever seen a high school fight or a fight?
Yeah.
Right? If there's 2 guys fighting, and their one guy is beating the shit out of the other guy for 10 minutes, the last 15 minutes of fight, the tables turn, and the other guy starts beating the shit out of the guy. Who won that fight? The guy in the
guy that's not in the hospital?
Well, no. So the guy who wins the last part of the fight is the winner of the fight. Because if you kick this guy's ass for 5 minutes, but then that guy comes back and kicks your ass is kicking your ass at the end of the fight, and that fight would have went another 5 rounds, John Jones would have killed Dominic Reyes. John Jones dominated the last 2 rounds, so he was the winner of the real fight. The winner of the fight is the last man standing.
True. I kind
of butchered the way he said it because I'm not Joe Rogan. He's a much more eloquent speaker than I am. But basically, what he was saying was, the winner of the fight is the last man standing. If that fight would have won one more round, John Jones would have killed. If that fight would have been in the parking lot, the winner would have been John Jones because he was winning the end of the fight. The winner of the fight in a parking lot is not the guy who threw the first 10 punches and was winning the first few minutes. It's the guy who finished the fight at the end, right? If at the end of the fight John Jones is on top of Dominic Cruz beating the shit out of him, whether it was in the parking lot or not, he won that fight in my eyes. It doesn't matter who started winning; it matters who finishes winning.
And that's you got to you and Rogan have a good point on that. So yeah, who's ever winning at the end is usually and is that I understand that with a street fight like that, but this is different.
A pointing system
and developing some sort of pointing system. We can jump over to PFL. They have a pointing system in their first few fights of their league play. If you finish in the first round, you get 3 points, and it diminishes down the points that you get if you finish in the later rounds. But you're almost saying it should be a little bit more the other way. Of
the champion, if it's all the UFC fights are 3 minutes. I mean, 3 5-minute rounds.
Yes.
Championship fights, main event fights are 5 rounds. So, should the last 2 rounds, the championship rounds, count more? I believe I'm on board with yes, they should.
So then, how do you and I agree that's probably would be a unique way of looking at it and changing something up. But how do you give them more?
Because if this was in a parking lot, the guy who's winning at the very end of that fight in the parking lot won the fight. In my eyes, really does anybody win? But if someone's beating the shit out of you in the parking lot that last 5 minutes, then unless somebody stops it, they're going to beat you to death. John Jones, if that would have continued another 2 or 3 rounds, John Jones would have completely, because he dominated those last 2 rounds.
Yes.
So I hope I get my point. Does that make sense, Mark? Make sense to you? Yeah. So if Mark is kicking my ass in the parking lot, he jumps me in the parking lot, he's beating the hell out of me, I gain my senses and I beat the hell out of Mark for the last 5 minutes. Who won that fight? Oh,
of course,
Mark. Even though I'm on top of you beating the hell out of you the last. Okay, Mark still wins somehow. He's probably got a weapon.
That's true.
You know, he carries a AR-15.
And that's usually why those fights that turn in from the parking lot to they escalate very quickly.
Yeah.
And then someone has pulling a weapon out of their car here, there, and
Knee
yes,
the balls.
in a parking lot. Yeah, I'm not fighting for points. I'm fighting to win. I'm gonna poke your eyes. I'm gonna do everything that's gonna be illegal in the cage.
Well, John will still poke your eyes.
Yeah,
John Jones will still poke you in the eyes. He pokes every. You know, he didn't get flagged for this fight. He got warned a few times, but he didn't
get flagged. But
yeah.
and I know they kept saying there's a few.
And there was a lot of respect at the end of that fight, and John Jones said, hey, man, that guy gave me everything he got, and it was a tough fight. Was it tougher than Gustafsson? Did he take as much damage? John Jones didn't look like he got hurt or beat up. Neither one of the guys really did.
No.
But
they didn't. They weren't.
But if it went to round 6, Jones might have stopped him. It wouldn't have been the other way around. Reyes' power was gone, and he was sucking wind. His hands were down. And Jones started attacking, going for the takedowns and making them work and landing a lot of significant shots. If that went another round, 6 rounds, round 7 rounds, Jones would have won.
But the reason MMA is safer for the fighters and everyone that steps in than boxing is they limit the rounds and they limit the damage.
So, got a big UFC this weekend. Shout out to Macy Chiasson. Did I say that right?
You got it.
Chiasson.
Where'd
So,
you go?
You go, girl. We're all pulling for you. We look forward to watching that fight and seeing a Fortis MMA victory on the books. Thanks for tuning in to Fight Fit Lifestyle. I'm the Joe Show and
Timbo Slice. Get better, Ocho.
Get better, Ocho. We'll see you next week.